What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast on the Fans First Podcast Network. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. It is Friday. You know what that means. Mimosa Michelle is here. What's up, Michelle?
Woo woo! No mimosa today, so I'm just
No.
Michelle, but I have some fun takes either way. I'm going to come with excitement because the draft is less than a week away. I love
Yes.
the NFL draft. I absolutely love it.
It is so much fun. I know we're not going to know who's good for a while for in a lot of these cases. I don't care. The first time we hear this, oh, it's so good.
That just does something, It just the feels. It feels so good.
Deep in your soul, because it's we only hear that once a year, right? It's like when that red zone NFL red zone music kicks on Sundays, and you're like, yes, let's go, it's back. So I'm so excited. On today's show, we are going to look at our top 5 fits for the 49ers in round 1. You have your 5 favorites. I have my 5 favorites. We're going to go through them. If you're watching on the stream, I am wearing my Sam Darnold uniform. Got it on right now. I don't know if I'm going to wear it every Friday. I was thinking maybe we could auction it off. That might be a cool thing to do too.
Are you going to sign it? Is it going to be your autograph?
Somebody wants me to sign it, I'll definitely sign it. I'd be happy to.
I have the worst signature of all time. I would be the worst famous person. My signature. Oh, you've made fun of it before.
Yeah, it's terrible. I've seen it. You have had to sign multiple documents for us here at Gold Standard, and yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, no, it's really not good.
Nick Ellert says, what's worse, Darnold jersey on the Niners or Russell Wilson's Steelers jersey, Michelle?
Listen, I want to get a Russell Wilson Steelers jersey. I think either he's good and it's a good purchase, or he's terrible and he's gone and he played for them for 1 year. And that's a hilarious jersey to have in 10 years from now. Like that would just be a great jersey to have.
Interesting. We're going to, before the show is over, don't let me forget. I want to get your take on all these crazy Brandon Aiyuk rumors that are flying around. Because obviously they involve your Pittsburgh Steelers, and we haven't really talked about it. Some of them are just, I mean, they're ridiculous. Like all fans do this where they're like, oh, we'll just give up, a 7th round pick and get this team's best player. It's like, no, that's not how it works.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the Steelers do get him, it's going to cost a 1st round pick, maybe even more than that. I'm hoping obviously as a Steelers fan, I want to get them as cheap as possible. Right.
Yes.
But I do think it would cost, right around what AJ Brown costs for the Eagles a couple years ago, the 1st and the 3rd. And the Titans still had to pay AJ Brown. It was the same scenario. It's not just because they had to pay him. He was cheaper. The only reason they were able to get him is because the Titans didn't want to have to pay him,
Right.
So I think that's the same situation as Aiyuk. If he were to be traded, it's only for the fact they don't want to pay him that amount of money, but they're still going to make a team pay a 1st round and probably more for him.
Yeah, I'm seeing some crazy stuff out there. I saw a suggestion yesterday that Jason Aponte tweeted out. I mean, it was laughable. I'll pull it up later in the show, but let's keep the main thing the main thing. Today's show is about the draft, our top 5 picks in the 1st round for the 49ers. Do you have yours actually in order 1 to 5?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, boy. All right. I haven't ordered mine. You go first then, and I'll figure out some type of order.
All right. So this is like how the player we want most badly for the 49ers to take or to be there. Right. So my first one is offensive tackle, J.C. Latham out of Alabama. Starter at right tackle for Alabama the last 2 years. And having that SEC experience is important, right? Like he's played against really, really good competition. He allowed just 2 sacks last year, 0 sacks in 2022, allowed just 9 hurries last season as well, right? So it's not even like he was letting anyone get to the quarterback. He had an 82 PFF grade last year, ranked 6th among 178 qualified tackles in the Power 5 last season. His only issue is he had some penalties, a little bit inconsistent in the run game, but he'll be 21 years old the entire rookie season, right? He's still young. He has a lot of time to learn. I don't know if he'll fall all the way to the 49ers, but I wouldn't mind them trading up for a tackle either. So J.C. Latham would be my number 1 wish on this list for the 49ers.
I didn't have him on my list only because I assumed he would be gone. But if he's going to be there, I mean, how can you, what's not to like? 6'5", 340 pounds, like you said, super, super young. And like a couple of guys on my list, I feel like most of the negatives on him are just due to age or due to inexperience, like things that can easily be adjusted to and developed as he goes along in his career. when all your negatives are stuff like that, because some negatives are bad. Like if you're slow, it doesn't really matter for offensive line, but like if you're a wide receiver and you run a 4.6, like you're kind of cooked. Like that's not getting any better. I don't care how many years you play in the league. But if all your negatives can be worked on and improved, that's a huge green flag.
And he has 11 in chance, like over 11 in chance, 11 1/8. That's monstrous. And 84 wingspan with over 35-inch arms. Like he is just he's a long boy, big boy. There's a lot of people who don't love JC Latham. So I do think maybe it's going to come down. It all comes down to where, he ranks among these 5 wide receivers, the 5 top tackles in this group among any team that needs a tackle, right? They probably are not going to get him at 31. But like I said, if he falls into the 20s, I think they should move up for him.
I like that. I advocate them moving up if they really love a guy. I also advocate them trading down out of the first round and then maybe moving up, making your pick in the second round, moving up in the second round, like trade down first, then trade up. I could see that too. But we agree. Offensive line, I think, is probably my number 1 spot for the Niners. My number 1, I didn't rank them before the show, but I'm just doing this really quick. Jackson Powers Johnson, the center out of Oregon. Super young, like you brought up. Again, I like that. He's another guy where all of his issues, I feel like, are mostly due to age. He's one of the things you're just reading the Dane Brugler scouting guide is he's good at reading and diagnosing fronts. And that's something you have to do in Kyle's system as a center. You have a lot of responsibility doing that. The fact that he's so young and he's already good at that, to me, is a very good sign. I like that. And he has experience at all 3 interior offensive line positions too, which, let's be honest, when you play offensive line, you never know what the hell's going to happen. I'll never forget Mike McGlinchey's first game. He was in there playing guard. It was the first game in the NFL and everybody got hurt and sometimes stuff happens and you just got to do it. So I like that he already has the versatility and the experience there. I don't know that he's going to last that long. He'll probably be gone too, but it was kind of wishful thinking for me there.
He's been following a lot of mocks. I mean, you don't see centers go too early, right? These interior offensive linemen, they do fall. So I'm not going to be shocked if he's sitting there at 31 or really, really close to that. I have him as my 3rd guy. So we both do have him towards the top here. I did talk about him a bit on our offensive line show.
Mm-hmm.
So last year played 829 snaps for Oregon. That's a ton of snaps. 0 sacks allowed, 1 hurry allowed. Really, really impressive. He had a 90.6 pass blocking grade per PFF. That was first among Power 5 centers, 3rd among all Power 5 offensive linemen. And then he is so good in the run game. Also first among centers in run game PFF grade as well. And not even close to anyone else. He dominated in that score among all centers. So I really like him as well. The only reason I have him at 3 is because of the position. Center is just not as important as my position at number 2, but I do love Jackson Powers Johnson.
A lot of the guys that I picked too, just reading the scouting report, one of the things I like, competes with a mean streak, fight or flight responses to match the opponent's authority. If you go and look at all the guys I have on this list, they all are like that, because I do think the 49ers have that kind of culture. You've seen it with all the guys, all their leaders too, especially Debo, Kittle, McCaffrey, Juwan Jennings, Dre Greenlaw is a psycho out there. They all are physical, just absolute maulers out there, and I like that about this team. I think it carries over game to game. That's something you can rely on, whether it's perfect conditions, terrible conditions, home, road, whatever. And so I like adding more of that on the team. So all my guys have that kind of mean streak.
Yeah, and we got a comment here from Modelo Time 1999. No need to trade up for an offensive tackle or wide receiver. 1,000% agree with the wide receiver, but I think after these top 5 or 6 tackles, it really does. It falls off massively. They say it's a good tackle class because of how much talent's at the top. But after that, I don't love any of these guys coming in to be a starter. And I don't like Colton McKivitz. And then you also have to think about Trent Williams getting older and older too. So I don't know why they wouldn't think about trading up for a tackle.
If you have a guy that you love and you think there is a big difference between, tackle 5 and tackle 6 or tackle 7, then maybe you do it. I just get good players, please. Their first round draft picks have not really been great. Bosa was great. Aiyuk was really good. Other than that, they've whiffed. So, show me something here, 49ers. Show me that you could evaluate properly the best guys in the draft.
100%. They have not gotten really anything out of the last 2 draft classes at all. So they need to hit on some of these picks. Now, they didn't have earlier picks, very many early picks, right? Now they do. So they need to hit on these guys. Do you want me to give you my number 2 guy on my wish list?
Hold on. I want you to answer this question. Comes from Thomas Latrell, who says, Michelle, do you like the tackle Kingsley?
I don't know enough about him to say yes or no.
Kingsley Suamate. That. Suamatea. I think that's his name. Guess what, Thomas? He's on my list. So we'll get to that.
Ooh.
But go ahead, Michelle. What's your number 2?
All right, my number 2 is cornerback Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. Long frame, very athletic, quick, fluid hips. Athletic is super, super athletic. Ran a 4.28 40, 36-inch jump. He's at, and literally the only thing, had a great PFF grade, allowed only a 44.4 passer rating allowed. He's just, he does it all, right? He's a really good corner. The thing that might scare people off is his weight. 173 pounds at the combine. Now at the pro day, they said he weighed at 182. That's a pretty quick turnaround of 9 pounds. I don't know why he wouldn't have already got there for the combine unless he wanted to run faster. That could have been it. He didn't run at the pro day. So there already kind of answers the weight thing, but that was already a worry of his in school. He sometimes can get pushed around because of the weight, but he's not even 21 years old yet. He won't be until like right at the start of the season. So he has plenty of time to grow into his body. Again, might be a guy you have to move up a couple spots for. I mean, these top guys lasting to 31, like that's always a risk, right? But someone's going to have to fall with these quarterbacks going, with these wide receivers going, with these tackles going. Like there is going to be a position that falls. And Nate Wiggins is the cornerback 3 on many people's consensus list. He could be there. And I love Nate Wiggins. I think he's just as good as the top 2 guys of Terrion Arnold and Quinyon Mitchell. I think he should be right there. It's just the worry with the weight, but he can put weight on.
The only other thing I saw is that he has most of his snaps outside. He has no experience in the slot as a slot corner. I think that's okay because I think the 49ers want Diamador Lenore to stick in the slot. I think. I'm not sure, but I think that's what they want to do. So if that's the case, then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and if you're taking a corner in the first round, you want him to be able to play on the outside, not just a slot. I feel like that's well more worth your draft capital and money that you'll be paying the guy if he can play on the outside.
That is true. All right, I could be down with that. I don't mind adding a little speed. I feel like the Niners don't really have a burner on either side of the ball. I know Danny Gray technically is on the roster, but I'm not even sure Danny Gray is an actual human being because I don't think I've ever actually seen him play football. So
is he still on the roster? I'm shocked. I feel
right now, I guess, but yeah, I'd actually like to see someone contribute on the field. So okay, that's your number 2. I like it. I will get to the aforementioned Kingsley Suamataia. Sorry, it took me a second. I got to work on some of these names.
He's your number 2?
He's my number 2.
I know nothing about this guy.
I love all the descriptions of him. And again, like this is not coming from me watching hours of tape. I'm reading some scouting reports on these people. Again, I don't claim to be a draft analyst, but we're less than a week before the draft. We can have some fun here on the show. So I'm going to go with him. I love all the descriptions of him. Crabby, eager brawler, but has a boxing background. Again, all about the toughness that we talk about. And
what does crabby mean?
He's a crabby, just a bad attitude. That's what I like from my offensive lineman. He's 6'4", 326, so he's friggin' huge. I love that. And this is the craziest thing I saw in the profile. This is why I love Dane Brugler's draft guide. Double-digit members of his immediate or extended family played college or pro football. How absurd is that? What kind of bloodlines are in this family?
Listen, that is absurd, and you love the bloodlines. He did also say he will require a patient coaching staff who can ease his transition to the pro level. I don't know if that describes the 49ers. They don't seem like a patient coaching staff to begin with, but also I in the first round that seems a little rich to this guy. Maybe in the second round, not the first.
Dane Brugler has him at 40 overall. I mean, the Niners are picking at 31. So,
Yeah.
and you're not picking again until late in the second round. So if you like him, go get him. He's got experience at both tackle positions, which obviously I like because you can put him at right tackle. Maybe early on he struggles a little bit. And then when Trent Williams retires, you could slide him over to the left tackle if you want. I like all those descriptions of my offensive lineman. He's cousins with the Sewells. Again, going
Huh?
back to the bloodlines, like I don't know.
Wow.
I like it. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing.
All right, he's your number 2. Now we already talked about my number 3. That was center Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon. We already hit on him. So who's your number?
Who's my number 3? How about Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver out of
Ew.
Texas? Why are
Oh
you
my
making
gosh,
a
I
face?
hate your list so much.
Don't
I
make a
just don't
face.
think AD Mitchell would be such a gross pick. All right, talk to me why. Talk to me why.
What? I don't understand why you don't like him. You're poo-poo. You're so quick to dismiss. First of all, he's 6'2", 205, and he runs a
Ooh.
4.34. The
Ooh.
49ers do not have a lot of tall wide receivers. Their tallest receiver is actually Chris Conley, who's 6'3". I think Juwan Jennings is around that same height. Conley doesn't play. He doesn't really contribute. Jennings is on a restricted free agent contract, so he's probably going to be gone next year. I like a little size. Add something you don't have in the mix, right? So I like that. He's got one drop over the last 2 years. He can make catches away from his body. He can make acrobatic catches. And again, going to the scouting report, toughness, always looking for somebody to block. What do we know about Kyle Shanahan's wide receivers? No block, no rock. And he's always looking for a reason to bench you, right? He's always looking for a reason not to give his young wide receivers the ball. This guy blocks. He's not going to have that problem. 81.8% of his catches last year went for a first down or a touchdown. Sign me up for that.
Cool. I don't know. This is my thing with him. He is so inconsistent as a receiver. I'm a Texas Longhorn fan. They're the one team I really pay attention to during the college football season. I watch every game. There is not one moment of this season I watched where I was like, oh, this guy is going to be like a really good NFL player. I didn't even think of him as a top prospect. I didn't even know he was being considered as one until after the season. I was looking at all these mocks and these rankings. I'm like, what? Like, why is he considered a first round? Like, that blew my mind. I never once saw that out of him. I was never impressed. Like Xavier Worthy on the other side, he made play after play after play, so consistent. And then he also did nothing in Georgia. Like, you're telling me he can't do anything with these teams, but all of a sudden he's going to come into the NFL and be good. Like, I just don't like those type of players. He's had the chances to dominate and he hasn't. I don't care about the 4.34. Like, this is just a guy that has athleticism but no production, and he's way too inconsistent with the receiving yards and receptions he did have. Like, he just disappeared in games. I don't like him, especially in the first round. The first round, I would absolutely hate that. But to be fair, I would hate most wide receivers in the first round for the 49ers. I don't want them to take one in the first round. This class is stacked. Grab one in the second round. There's going to be a great guy there. And if you want a tall guy who has speed, just get Troy Franklin. He's better, had way better production. And he would be a great fit for the 49ers as well and spread out that field for them. And they can get him in the second round.
Oscar Alfaro, YouTube channel member, says Mitchell's a pain in the ass who's constantly being talked about as uncoachable. I didn't see that anywhere in Dane Brugler's draft guide. I'm not disputing it. I'm just saying I didn't see that, so that didn't enter into it when I was making my list. He did have 11 touchdowns last year. That's pretty productive.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the one thing you can point to.
I also read Kyle Posey's wide receiver scouting report over at Niners Nation. I kind of trust Kyle's scouting reports as well. He was very high on AD Mitchell, so that contributed to
AD
it for
Mitchell
me.
is PFF's number 4 wide receiver in this draft class. Like, a lot of people are high on him, and I could be 1,000% wrong. I probably am. It's not like I've done like insane amount of work like some of these companies have on these guys. I watched him every week. I never once saw an NFL star in him. I didn't consider him even. You see these guys, you're watching him like, oh, these are so good. I wonder where he's being considered in the NFL or in the NFL draft. And never once did that cross my mind for him.
All right. So Juwan Jennings 2.0 for you. Got it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Except you hate Juwan because he's slow. Adonai Mitchell's not slow.
Yeah. And again, I just would hate him in the first round. If they can grab him in the second, then whatever. I still wouldn't love it. But my number 4, this is a toss up and really comes down to positional need here, which is never really the way to go. And it would be a bad GM move. But I'm going to go with another cornerback because I do think they should add someone. It's Cooper DeJean out of Iowa, the white boy, right? The white boy corner, 6'1", 205 pounds, just turned 21 years old. Great footwork, athleticism, good instincts, good run defending cornerback too. You know, the 49ers will love that. And he has plenty of speed, 4.44 speed, 38.5-inch vertical jump. So like I said, athletic. Allowed 0 touchdowns in primary coverage in 2023. Had 5 interceptions in 2022. 3 of them were pick sixes. Had another 2 interceptions last year. Allowed a 43.5 completion percentage. He can play outside or slot corner or safety, like any of those positions. And he's also a good returner. So I think he would bring really nice value to this team. And, you know, if teams are worried that he's a white boy corner, he might be falling.
What do they always say? The more you can do, right? The more things you can do, the better off you are, the more valuable you are to a team. Cooper DeJean is 4 on my list too. So we had the same there. He's got versatility in the secondary. He's got some snaps at safety. I know Chris Sims said he thinks that he's probably going to have to be a safety in the NFL. I don't know about that. Chris certainly knows more than I do in that area. But whatever, the 49ers need help at safety too. And this position in Brandon Staley's defense, and I'm calling it Brandon Staley's defense because for me, he's the guy that's coming up with the game plan. So to me, it's Brandon Staley's defense. He has this position in his defense called the star. It's somebody in the secondary that's very versatile, that does a lot of different things. Some people think it might be Talanoa Hufanga, but Cooper DeJean seems like a guy whose experience would fit that role. He's a very physical tackler. You mentioned he does things with the ball in his hands. 3 of his 7 career interceptions went back to the house for a touchdown, and he can make plays on the ball. And the 49ers have a habit of drafting cornerbacks who are really great at sticking close to the receiver, but when the ball is in the air, they just lose all sense of reality and where they are on the planet. They can't make plays on the ball. They don't get their hands up on time, or they just bear hug the wide receiver and draw a flag. Like, I don't know why, but they like Ambry Thomas is a perfect example. Ambry Thomas doesn't get cooked that often. The problem is it doesn't matter that he's standing right there because he either interferes or the guy catches it anyway. You need someone that can make plays on the ball, and Cooper DeJean can do that.
Yeah, I do think they need to add to the secondary and early in this draft. I know they added Rockison. Like, that doesn't move the needle for me. I don't think that keeps them from drafting somebody. Like, I don't really want them to go in with Ambry Thomas and Diamador Lenore and just like the immediate starters and with no competition. Like, Lenore has gotten better for sure, and I think he deserves to have a role in this defense. But they need more depth. They need more competition. They need guys that just a little bit more consistent, right? And I would love them to take like I brought up a Nate Wiggins or Cooper DeJean here in the first round. I think it would be well worth their pick.
And I think you mentioned it, but he can have value as a returner. I know they signed Trent Taylor. Hooray! Like, who cares about that? Have options back there. Don't just, again, like you said, competition. Don't just be like, oh, we signed Trent Taylor. There's our punt returner. Like, no, let's have, may the best man win. Let's bring in some competition, bring out the best in people. Okay. So we both had Cooper DeJean on our list. All right. Who is your number 5?
So I'm going a different position here. It's defensive tackle, which I know you don't really want it to go on the defensive line. I know they traded for Malik Collins and they have Javon Hargrave. Like the Malik Collins trade, the Jordan Elliott addition, it does not like get me excited. I think they can still add to the position. So Johnny Newton, defensive tackle out of Illinois. Now he had 7.5 sacks in just 12 games last year. 14 tackles for loss in 13 games in 2022 with also 5.5 sacks. Along with that, he so 22.5 tackles for loss over the last 2 seasons. That led the FBS among interior defensive linemen. He just has that pass rush. Like, he's a really good pass rusher for being a defensive tackle. I'm going to read some notes from Dane Bugler's profile for him because he knows best. He says, can't leave him unblocked backside because he will chase it down every time with relentless hustle. Can see his smarts in the play. He works through pre-snap checklists, personnel alignments, then communicates with his teammates, flattens down the lines and makes plays near the sideline, like violent, quick hands to disengage. alerts and sees through the blocks and reads run well. Like, he has only great things to say about him. He played a ton of snaps also, like every single game. So he could stay on the field. He didn't have any injury history. Combined for 103 pressures over the last 2 years that led interior defensive linemen as well. He is undersized, right? So that might make teams worried. But with the 49ers defensive line, I think you can take that undersized guy. They have other powerful players on that defensive line. I think he could be a really sneaky value in a class that's so focused on offense. I feel like in the first round, these defenders are going to fall down. And then also, if teams are worried about him being undersized, like Aaron Donald is also undersized, right? I know everyone's
yeah, but you can't say that.
I know. But I do think he could be a really, really sneaky value that's going to, like, that he wouldn't normally be there at 31 in most draft classes, but with this draft class stacked at so many positions, he might be sitting there.
I don't like Aaron Donald did it because you could use that to justify taking any undersized defensive tackle. But that's like the only negative on him. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Peter Schrager. I have read a lot of mock drafts. I think Schrager was the first guy I saw that had him mocked to the 49ers. And I was like, I've never heard this person's name before. Who is this person? But man, I mean, you read a lot of the stuff there. There's so many things to love physically, just in terms of traits of how he plays the game. You mentioned the work ethic. I mean, how much time did we spend talking about the 49ers defensive line and the effort and why they needed more effort and all that stuff? So I like everything you said about him, to be honest with you.
Thank you very much. Now, who's your fifth? Is it going to be some other horrible player that I don't like?
My fifth is Chop Robinson from Penn State. Is that? Can I like
I
talk about
him.
it before you poo-poo it?
I considered him. I think that's fine.
And I know, like we talked about, and I completely agree with you most of the time. Like, why don't you have more production in college if you have all these great physical skills and traits? But he was part of a rotation. He only got about 30 snaps a game, and he was only a one-year starter at Penn State. So that kind of, hopefully, is the reason why he didn't rack up incredibly high sack numbers. He's got experience playing in the wide nine already, which is obviously something the 49ers do. 42.7% of his tackles were in the backfield the last 2 years. So almost 50% of his tackles were behind the line of scrimmage. That is the kind of disruptive player that I want on the 49ers. He was top 10 in pass rush win rate percentage. Win weight. Top 10 in pass rush win weight in 2023. So all the underlying metrics, I feel like, show that this is a person that's going to be in the backfield, that's going to cause pressures and disrupt plays. That's what you want. That's what the 49ers need out of their defensive line. So I had Chop Robinson 5 on my list, even though I know 49er fans are going to revolt because it's another defensive lineman in round one.
Yeah. I like that you brought up the reasons why he didn't have as much production as you would typically like to see out of a first round edge rusher, but it also would be a perfect situation for him, right? So it's not like he's going from playing 30 snaps a game to all of a sudden having to play 60 plus snaps and he's going to get worn down, because that's a crazy transition, right? From the NFL. Like, they brought in Leonard Floyd, they have Nick Bosa. And then Gross Matos, fine, whatever. And Drake Jackson, like, they're all going to get their snaps, right? So he can kind of be one of those players that comes in for the same amount of snaps as he was used to. You can get him moving along slowly. Use him as that pass rusher whenever he comes in. But yeah, I like Chop Robinson a lot. And this edge class, it's like the top 3, and it does die pretty fast here. So if they do want to bring in an edge that can make an immediate impact, I do think Chop Robinson is going, one of your last options here in the first round. I will say, if Laiatu Latu falls because of injury concerns, because he had that that early retirement in school, but then came back and played the last 2 years with no issues at all.
Nope,
no issues at all the last 2 years.
Don't care.
He's a freak. I mean, he would be like a top 5 pick if it wasn't for that, though. So if you're talking about a guy you just want over the next 5 years that's going to be really, really good, and maybe in 5 years from now, this injury doesn't, his injury starts to affect him, fine. But with them in this window, Super Bowl or bust, that's literally it. Super Bowl win or bust. Adding a guy like Latu, who would be a top 5 prospect without those worries from prior, that would be insane pick.
Nope. Already got one injury-prone Latu. Don't need another.
Who?
Cameron Latu, their 3rd round pick from last year.
Okay, but Cameron Latu wouldn't have been early pick no matter if he was the healthiest person of all time.
When you have an injury that causes a medical retirement,
are they brothers?
I don't know if they're related. But like when because I was looking at edge rushers and I was like, oh, I've heard a lot about this guy, and then it was like, oh yeah, he had to medically retire. Nope, I don't want that. No, that whatever that injury is not going to magically get better when you start playing in the NFL and take that kind of pounding. That scared me away.
But he did change teams and change talk about Washington. Remember Trent Williams almost like died because of a Washington team not taking.
He had cancer. That was different
in a medical but then he goes to the. I don't know. Like I think with him changing teams and then UCLA being like, yeah, no, you're fine. Like you can play, and then he just played the next 2 years. Like maybe there's just something off with the medical staff or how they saw or whoever he saw, and then another team was like, no, you're good, bro. And he didn't miss a game. He had no issues.
So it was a serious neck injury that he suffered in practice. He actually went to the same neck doctor that did Peyton Manning's surgery, which this is why Dane Brugler's draft guide is awesome, because I just love it that's in there. He was medically
Peyton Manning's neck just die after that?
It held up for a little while. He played rugby during his rehab and was offered a contract by the professional Seattle Seawolves rugby team. How is rugby part of your neck surgery rehab program?
Because he's tough and he's fine.
I guess. Thomas Latrell, by the way, on YouTube, I love this comment. The mythical hunt for a bookend to Nick Bosa continues. We've been waiting since Bosa was drafted, trying to get somebody. I think personally the best way to go, if you can get somebody that's explosive, like a speed rusher type of guy, to me that seemed to work when they had D Ford there. They've been looking for it, obviously. It's hard to find. If you're confident that Chop Robinson or Latu is the guy, then go get him. But I don't know. They've tried and tried and tried, and they haven't been able to find it.
Yeah, I don't think Latu will be there unless there's some like the only way he is there is if a lot of teams know something about his injury history that we don't, and then at that point, then no, the 49ers probably don't want to risk that, right? But Chop Robinson, I like that pick. It wouldn't be my, there's other needs, and Chop Robinson wouldn't have as big of an impact, I don't think, on this team winning a Super Bowl, but I do like it. And then one last guy, I know Graham Barton, a lot of people are into him from Duke. Play guard, center. He actually played left tackle with Duke the last 3 years, but a lot of people have him going into center, but he has a positional variety here where he can play multiple positions. And Dane Brugler actually has him as his number 1 center in the class, ahead of Jackson Powers Johnson. He really, really likes him. So I think Graham Barton would be a nice, solid choice as well.
Okay, I could get behind that. I don't know what you did. My methodology for this was I just went first. I was like, what positions would I be okay with them taking in the first round? And I came up with tackle, center, wide receiver, corner, and defensive line. So that's how I sort of started my framework.
I would hate wide receiver. That's pretty much the only thing I would hate.
Just because you think they can get some later.
Because whoever you get in the end of that first round, there's going to be guys sitting there at the end of the second round that are in the exact same tier. Like no difference whatsoever.
Tanisha, YouTube channel member, says, good morning, Rob and Michelle. Good morning. We got your early morning draft fix here. And just, one more time, just because. Okay, it's always good. It just brings a smile to my face. Wedgie and Tilly says, give me your golden 5th round picks. We need another HF player. I keep sharing this graphic, Michelle, because it still blows me away. Every 5th round pick that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have made is still in the league, going all the way back to 2017. That is pretty damn impressive. I know they've whiffed on a lot of 3rd round picks and some 1st round picks, but for some reason, that is the golden round for the 49ers. They are all still there.
Luke McCaffrey, baby. 5th rounder. Let's go.
I am he is fast becoming a draft crush of mine. I talked with Thor Nystrom of Fantasy Pros. He was glowing, just gushing about Luke McCaffrey. Obviously, we know the bloodline's there. And the fact that you'd be able to get him so late, and he'd be playing with his brother, and you need a wide receiver anyway, it's all lining up for the 49ers.
Yeah, I wonder if he ends up right now he's being predicted as a 5th round guy. I wonder if he goes earlier just because of the name,
He might. He's getting a lot of love from people. The thing too is I think a lot of people are like, is there more potential there? Because he hasn't been playing wide receiver that long. He was a quarterback and then eventually switched to wide receiver, which, by the way, I kind of like that. Like, having that quarterback knowledge, I think, can only help you as a wide receiver because you know what they're looking for and things like that. So now I'm just wondering if he's been getting so much love that he is going to go earlier than we thought.
And then I would love that. And then remember, we do not like Brandon Rice. So I know people are going to be rooting for
Brendan
Jerry
Rice, yeah.
Rice's son to be on the 49ers. I have zero desire for the 49ers to take him.
Yeah, definitely not. Everybody, I haven't honestly heard one person say like, oh, Brendan Rice is going to be a good NFL player. Everybody's kind of like, nope, if his last name wasn't Rice, nobody would care about him.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone asked when are the 49ers going to grab their tight end. I brought this up. I would love them to take JT Sanders out of Texas. I originally considered he might go at the end of the first, but a lot of mocks have him falling to the middle second, later second. So if he's there for the 49ers and their second round pick, would love Jatavian Sanders to be on the 49ers. When I mentioned like watching the Texas games and seeing these, players and be like, wow, like this guy's going to be good. Or like, I wonder where this guy's going in the NFL. Like Sanders was one of those guys where I was like, oh, he's so good. Like every time he did something, I was like, oh, he is absolutely amazing. Never once said that about A.D. Mitchell. Said it many times about Xavier Worthy. But would love Jatavian Sanders there to maybe take over George Kittle here in the near future.
You've been on Sanders. I think that was like the first player from this draft class that you were like, I want this person on the 49ers. Yeah. M. Patel says, on tape, Brendan Rice plays so much like his dad, just a little less physical. No, he doesn't, M. Patel.
Not at all.
Watch him. First of all, he's slow. Jerry Rice was not slow. Brendan Rice is slow. Just listen to this from Dane Brugler. Rice must continue working on the finer points to beat press coverage and get open versus NFL corners. Hello, Jerry Rice is the greatest route runner of all time. You had the greatest route runner of all time as a teacher, and that's the best you can do. Hard pass. No,
you played at USC with Caleb Williams and you still couldn't produce and you still couldn't even be the top receiver on your team. And it's not because he was playing with someone that was going to be a top 10 pick in the draft or something. And they were taking up all the love. Like, no, you couldn't even dominate or do good things with Caleb Williams. You never dominated in college. You never did anything in college. Why all of a sudden you're going to get to the NFL and perform? Like, that's just zero desire.
Oh, okay. Sorry. M. Patel says, I'm not talking about Rice. I'm talking about Luke McCaffrey. Okay. Well, Luke McCaffrey is Christian McCaffrey's brother. Are you saying he plays like Ed McCaffrey? Because that's his dad is Ed McCaffrey, which, okay, I could get behind that. So sorry if I misread your comment. I apologize on that. Sometimes things in the chat get a little misconstrued. You mentioned Sanders that you want for the 49ers. My draft crush, I'm going to keep talking about, is Jaheim Bell. I know there's a lot of negatives there. Again, crushes are not logical. They're not based on, the smartest things that you would use to make a decision. I watched his highlights. I love the way he runs with the ball in his hands. He seems like he can catch the ball pretty good. I don't know when they would have to take him, but if it's later in the draft, use one of your billion late round picks. I would love to see it.
Yeah, he's being projected as like a 5th, 6th round pick. So maybe that's our next 5th round pick that has a good career in the NFL.
Absolutely. Keep it going. Keep that streak going. 2 more things I want to talk to you about, Michelle. First is Brandon Aiyuk, because I got notified by, thank you, Nick Ellert in the chat, YouTube channel member, says Aiyuk's at it again. Instagram said fireworks in 6 days, which is the draft. That's true. Apparently, Brandon Aiyuk posted on his Instagram, is one of his stories. It looks like a picture of him talking with somebody. I don't know who it is. And on the screen, it says, brother said we got 6 days and it's fireworks. Now, what does that mean? Does it mean he's going to get traded? Does it mean he's going to sign his extension? I have no idea. Who the hell knows? Maybe the extension is already pretty much agreed to. And the 49ers are like, hey, we want you. We worked out this agreement. Unless we get absolutely flabbergasted with an offer, we're going to re-sign you, but we just have to do our due diligence and wait. I don't know, but I don't know what the hell that means. How do I interpret that, Michelle?
I think he's thinking there's going to be a trade. I don't think there's a contract in place, and they're like, just wait 6 days. We're gonna see if we can get you traded first, but if not, then we want you. Like, but then we'll pay this much for you. Like, I don't think that's the case whatsoever. I think he's insinuating that he's going to be traded. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. Maybe he's trying to push the narrative and trying to push the 49ers to, get this thing done before the draft. But very interesting for him to post that. He's been, he's been posting stuff on his social media.
But why would the 49ers wait 6 days if he knows already that he's going to get traded, then shouldn't they just make the trade now? Like I don't
Well, they might want to
that.
see if anyone else comes with a higher trade offer, or maybe they want to see who's on the board at the time. If if the Steelers are thinking about it and they get to 20 and they're like, we don't really care for anybody at the spot. Everyone that we really, really wanted is gone by this point. No, we're not going to do the deal. Like, maybe they want to see who's there, or maybe they up their price. Like, we don't think 20 is as special as we thought it was going to be. If you want to get this done, we're going to need more picks in here.
This is interesting because we've seen 2 times this offseason where Brandon Aiyuk's agent, Ryan Williams, has gone on Twitter immediately when a rumor comes out and boom, he squashes it. He squashed the rumor that Aiyuk had requested a trade like the next day, might not even have been the next day. It was that fast. And then when that ridiculous Steelers report came out that said that it was going to take a 2nd-round pick and a late-round pick and that the 49ers were going to kick in money, Ryan Williams went on Twitter and said, nope, this isn't true either. So everything that they have been doing is to squash controversy, squash,
But not Aiyuk on social media. He knows what he's doing. It's been multiple posts now.
Well, that's the That's why I don't like. He had the Money Talks BS Walks post on Instagram. Now he has this that said 6 days of fireworks. So why is his agent doing one thing and Aiyuk's doing seemingly something else? I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it is weird that his agent, it doesn't make sense for his agent to be even saying anything or pushing back, because I don't really know. I can't think of the viewpoint of okay, well, maybe this. I'm trying to think of a reason and I really can't. But then Brandon Aiyuk's post, he knows what he's doing. Maybe he just likes attention. I don't know, but he doesn't really seem like that type of player either. That is put attention on me, please. That he doesn't seem that type of person. So
is he just trolling everybody? It's possible.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know his agent and John Lynch are super close. Their relationship.
You know who's in the picture with him?
I don't know who that is, and I apologize. I'm just trying to look at it now. It's kind of blurry. Plus, whoever it is has a hood on, so
someone has to know who it is.
Yeah, I don't know if someone in the chat happens to know it. Derek says we have to stop reading into social media posts. It ain't that serious. I disagree. Social media is how the younger generation communicates. Some people might think it's BS, but it's not to them. And that's who's the one that's sending the message. So you have to look at it from their point of view.
Yeah, this is what they're saying. This is what they're getting out there. I mean, he wants people to see that, right?
Right.
There has to be a reason for it. You didn't post it for no reason. And it's 6 days away. What else could it be besides the NFL draft? He knows what he's doing.
Exactly. He knows how it's going to be perceived, whether he's joking, whether he's not joking. It's just another day, Vish said early on that maybe this is just Aiyuk's chance to sort of be the focus of the attention, right? Because everybody always talks about Debo and Kittle and CMC and Brock and all the weapons. This is the only time where Brandon Aiyuk can get mentioned and all those other guys don't get mentioned. And maybe he's enjoying that.
That could be.
All right. Last thing I want to get to, let me just see if I can, let me just see if I can pull it up really quickly here as I try to get my layouts all situated. Did you see the pictures of Brock Purdy working out? Brock is back in the lab, as the kids say, on the field, throwing passes, and some photos of him came out. And I got to say, he's looking maybe like he hit the gym a little bit. Maybe he's been moving those bags of corn or whatever the heck he's doing with John Deere. He looks kind of buff.
Let's see. You have a picture?
Yes. Let's add it to the stage right now. So the one on the left is obviously him last year. And then the one on the right is Brock, which I put that in 49ers in 5. And look at his arms. His arms look way bigger to me.
Yeah. I don't know now, is that a picture for an ad? Because they Photoshop that stuff.
I don't think so. Aaron Berkshire, I think, is the one who took the picture. You can't really see it. Let me see if I can zoom in on it. Because in the picture on the right, you can see the scar from the surgery. And it is gnarly. No, I can't really zoom in on it, unfortunately.
I can
Um,
already see it and it's small. Yeah, that's gross.
but like it's also a year since the surgery and it still looks like that. It just like makes me think like, damn, this was like such a huge deal. We don't really think about it now because he came back and played so well. But man, when I saw that scar, I was like, what the hell did that thing look like right after the surgery if this is what it looks like a year later?
Yeah. And now the only thing I think like getting stronger, buffer, like it really doesn't change that much about the quarterback at all. But if he does want to scramble more, being able to take those hits or maybe, working on those thighs, getting a little bit more burst. But that like I don't think like you like getting arm muscle, I feel like really doesn't make that big of a difference for how like far you can throw it. Those are kind of different muscles, but
He he has talked about wanting to get bigger. His legs were always huge. They call him Baby Bosa because his thighs are absolutely ridiculous. Let me see if this is a better. Maybe I can zoom in a little more on this picture because I want people to see the scar because it was freaking me out yesterday as I was putting together 49ers in 5. All right, so there it is. Can I zoom in on it now so that people can get a good look at it? Is that any better?
it's better. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, it
that's
doesn't
pretty
look
good.
pretty.
Yeah, it looks gnarly, man. So
Yeah.
Brock is back at it. I love that he's back at it. I love that he's working on his craft. I hope that he's working out with somebody. I don't care who it is. Kittle, Debo, whatever wide receiver he wants to pick, take advantage of the fact that you're not rehabbing all off season. Take advantage of the fact that you can work on stuff and then let's see how much growth you can make in 2024.
That's what's crazy. We don't even know if he's hit his full potential yet or even close to it because he didn't have last offseason at all. And then even the season before that, it's not like he was working with all these guys. He wasn't considered like he was the third quarterback on the depth chart, and people don't even know if he's going to make the team, let alone play. So he hasn't really had an offseason yet to get his team together to reach his full potential. So that's what's super exciting about this season. Like, how much more growth is there room for Brock Purdy? And I think there still is a good chunk there that he can continue to improve.
How much growth is there room for Brock Purdy?
Yeah, shut up. You know what I mean.
Okay, so we are less than a week away from the NFL draft. For anyone that doesn't know, Michelle is a researcher for the NFL Network. Just take us behind the curtain a little bit. What is your life going to be like on Thursday?
Oh, it's so much fun. Well, I get the picks before anybody else, so
Ugh.
that's fun too. But I'm not allowed to say them or do anything. But I have so many notes ready, right? So as soon as we get the picks, we send out all the notes on the players. They already have a lot of it that we've already sent out, but on the players and the team fit and the team like why they took them, right? And we shoot it out to everyone in the network. So that's they're using those notes to talk about it on all their platforms and on the draft show also. So yeah, it's a lot of hustle and moving fast, but such a fun time. And then there's
How
always crazy things that happen, and then you're like going to go crazy because you were not prepped for it whatsoever, and that's when it gets really hectic.
on average, just kind of ballpark it for us. How much time is there from when you find out what a pick is going to be to when it actually appears on television?
It can be anywhere from a few minutes ahead of time to it's normally a couple minutes ahead of time at least.
Like 5 minutes?
Sometimes as we get further into the draft, and by the time, but like the
Yeah.
first round, it's moving quicker. But as we get through the draft, like we're like so many picks ahead, where it's like by the time one is announced, like I already heard that a long time ago, and we're like,
Yes.
all great.
Especially later in the draft too. But
Yeah,
what I've heard, particularly in the first round, is that teams usually know who they're going to pick and they wait intentionally because they know that all the draft broadcasts are talking about that team. And so
yeah.
they want their team talked about for that amount of time. So they actually wait until the end of the clock to announce the actual pick, especially for teams, that don't usually get a lot of love nationally. They like that exposure. And so that also contributes to some of the timing.
Yeah, and I understand that. It also makes for a more exciting first round, right? If they were just all putting them in really fast, the first round would fly by. Sometimes it's irritating. Like, come on, you don't need the full 10 minutes on this clock right now. But
Right.
at the same time, it makes for more. You just get more anxious. But you did mention that you wouldn't mind the 49ers to move back. You wouldn't be sad if you like sat through the whole draft. You get the 31, and it's like and it's like trade. The 49ers are trading out of the first round.
It would, if they move down like 1 or 2 spots, just if they move down just like to the first pick of round 2, then I would be super mad because it's like you move down 2 spots and I got to wait a whole day before you make a pick. But I mean, it would be frustrating, sure, because we're going to be doing a live show probably around somewhere around like pick 20, pick 25, 11 and I and Steph Sanchez will start our live show. And so, we're going to be chomping at the bit here. So if they did trade out, I would be a little frustrated, but I kind of understand it. Like, you're at the bottom of the first round. There might be some team that wants to get an extra first round pick because they want that 5th-year option. Maybe somebody wants a quarterback really bad. That, the Ravens did that with Lamar Jackson, where they traded back into the first round because they wanted that extra year. So maybe, you get an offer like that you just can't refuse. But from a pure content creator standpoint, yeah, I'd be a little mad.
Yeah. It might be the smartest thing for them. And like, for sure, maybe someone wants to come back in for Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. if they're still sitting there. And the 49ers would be a good spot for that. I just, selfishly, I want to pick on day one. And also, they haven't had a first round pick in a long time. Give us one, please.
Yes, I know, right? It's been 3 years since I've been able to. I do enjoy draft season so much more when I can actually read mock drafts and see my team's name in there. One thing I saw, somebody had a mock draft, I think it was Bill Barnwell, and it was all trades in the first round. And the trade they had the 49ers making was trading Aiyuk and 31 to the Chargers for pick 5. And then they had the Niners drafting Malik Neighbors.
I mean, that's an interesting one. That's that. I mean, but at the same time, I don't know if your team's getting any better, right? Because I don't know how much of an upgrade you'll have from Neighbors to Brandon Aiyuk. But then you get cheaper, sure. But I don't know about next year your team being really any better.
And if you structure the Aiyuk's deal the way the Eagles structured Devontae Smith's deal, it's a great deal cap-wise. Devontae Smith's cap number doesn't go higher than what Brandon Aiyuk's would be this year for like 3 more years. It's awesome. So it's like, yes, please sign me up for that. By the way, are you on board with me that Brandon Aiyuk is better than Devontae Smith?
They're close.
That's not what I asked.
I don't know because we haven't got to see either one in, the top target in their offense. Really. Boy, I mean, I guess Aiyuk is the top target in his offense, but still not getting enough targets, right? I think both are really, really good. Devonta Smith does some things a lot, but like he's more technical. I think Devonta Smith is so good. And if he had the weight of Brandon Aiyuk, oh man, it's like really the only thing holding him back. I like both.
Way to sit on the fence. Boy. Don't hurt yourself sitting on the fence. All right. That's going to do it for this edition of the show. Please rate, review, and follow the Gold Standard Podcast Network. Leave us a 5-star rating and a review. I promise we will read it on the air. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are live every single weekday for you. We do 49ers in 5, which is a daily Niners update every single morning that comes out. Please subscribe. I promise we will earn your time. Michelle, kickball today?
No, we're skipping. I have a busy weekend. So tomorrow I have a big event thing at Orange Theory where it's like a race. I got first place among the women last time I did it.
Let's go.
So that's my goal again. You have to row, do body weight exercises, then run a 5K. It's a whole thing. It's a lot of fun. And then right after that, going to Austin for the weekend to go see Nate Bargatze comedy show on Sunday, but gonna go hang out in Austin Saturday. Then the show's on Sunday. It'll be a fun weekend.
I was only in Austin one time, but it was very, very cool. So I'm definitely jealous of you. I am going to do
nothing.
Nope. Study draft prospects and wait and scout Brandon Aiyuk's Instagram report. That's what I got cooking. Oh, baby. It's going to be fantastic. Enjoy your Friday and your weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.